What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And it looks like that the Department of Justice is not that much satisfied with the monopoly of Google that it has right now on the market, and they want to break apart this company into smaller companies, into so-called subdivisions. Let's talk about this thing right now and see whether this could be a good or a bad thing for Google in the long-term perspective. Well, long story short, the Department of Justice is questioning Google's 90% market share in the search engine sector, in the search engine industry. This is a pretty legitimate concern, I would say, having 90% of having one company controlling 90% of the market. So for this reason, once again, not the first time, probably not the last time, the talks about Google's monopoly appeared within the US government. Besides this, the Department of Justice also claims that Google establishes unfavorable conditions for the competition, makes it very impossible for them to compete with Google because the company is just so big that is why it is possible for Google to sell the advertisements. For example, one of the main sources of revenue for a dirty cheap prices, which is unsustainable for small startups because the margins are so low, it is quite literally impossible for a new company to enter the market. Besides that, there are also questions about the participation of Google in the online stores and payment processors, and also obviously the artificial intelligence, which is right now a booming industry. Google also wants to take a part of this pie, and the Department of Justice is like, well guys, slow down a little bit, like what, you wanna be everywhere? Is this what you're trying to do? At this very moment, obviously, not a single decision is made, it is just in the very beginning stage of this procedure, but potentially some first facts, some first decisions will emerge, will be told to us guys approximately on November 20th. But so far, according to the insiders and market participants, Google experts, potentially the division of the company can look as the following. First of all is the Google search engine itself, that's pretty much the main part of the company. Then it can be a Chrome browser, what I would assume a lot of us are using. Then it's going to be the cloud business, and it's also Google other services such as, for example, Google Cards, Google Play, Google Payments, and also even YouTube itself can become a different, completely separate company. Alphabet, the mother company of Google, is claiming that all of these allegations are childish and they do not have any ground behind them. What they're basically saying is that their main argument is that they do not force the users to install, for example, Chrome as their default browser. All this is done at users' discretion. Like, well, in this case, okay, I can agree. Nobody forced me to make Google Chrome or whatever browser I'm using to make my default browser. I'm just using whatever is convenient for me, which is also what Google representatives are claiming. The only reason why people are using Google products so much, it is because of their superiority, ease of use, and extreme user friendliness. Because of this, once again, at this point it is extremely early to tell what's going to happen to this company, but it is very unlikely that the division will happen in the near future at least. Maybe sometime along the way we might see some separations. For example, Google and YouTube can become two separate companies, since these are two most visited websites in the world anyways. But as of right now, it is also my personal opinion, I don't see the breaking of Google into different companies, at least for now. But even if it does happen, there is no need for panic, especially if you're a Google investor. The very same break of a monopoly back in the days happened with Standard Oil and one of the richest men alive, Mr. Rockefeller. Basically, this company, after it was broken apart, became the following companies: Exxon, Chevron, and Mobil. And, well, as you can see, these companies, all of them, they still exist. They are very prospering companies and people keep investing in them. It's not like that after Standard Oil was divided into smaller companies, every single one of them went bankrupt and the company ceased to exist altogether. In fact, the opposite thing happened. It was relatively beneficial for the investors and John Rockefeller himself, because then these three companies were able to focus more on their internal operations and increase the output of the company individually. Though the shareholders of Standard Oil, for every single one share of Standard Oil, they received 3 shares. One was of Exxon, one of Chevron, and one of Mobil. This was basically in some way a stock split. And as a result, because the management of these 3 new individual companies were able to focus more on their own day-to-day business operations, they were able to bring these three companies individually to even bigger prosperity. So in the end, the investors of Standard Oil benefited greatly, much more from the division of the companies rather than if it will just stay as a single company, Standard Oil. So let's see, maybe the similar thing will happen to Google in case it is broken apart into smaller companies. Only time will tell. As always guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like this video, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks so much for watching, see you tomorrow.